Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since I've seen you. However, welcome back to the CrazyRocky channel. This video, you may be wondering, what is this about? I don't understand. Well, I know you may not be used to me posting movie-style content. Other than kind of a while ago, I did a video called My Favorite Movie Scene Ever, or The Best Movie Scene Ever, and that was kind of like this cringe, comedic scene by Keanu Reeves in this absolutely bizarre film called Knock Knock.
It was free pizza! Free fucking pizza!
In going forward, I think that I'm going to try to do a little bit more film reviews or film discussions / analysis, because I do find myself being more intrigued by cinema or going more into individual directors' filmographies or actors' filmographies, and I think that there is a lot of interesting discussion to be had when it comes to talking about, stories or different things that have happened in cinema history, or just analyzing stuff in general is quite fun. So overall, today I am here to talk to you about what is most recently my favorite film. Now, I say most recently because of course that's always potentially changing and updating. However, this film I saw about 8 months ago to 12 months ago with Jason, the other half of Smokin' Sessions, and essentially it was a film known as Now, this film was recommended to us by my father, and again, after watching it, just fell in love with it. So today, I wanted to go ahead, tell you a little bit about like our experience and how we came across this film, and how we fell in love with it. To then a little bit of a summary of the film, and then my analysis / review, and then from there, Jason is going to give his analysis / review, and then we'll go ahead and outro this bitch. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into the rest of this video.
Okay, we're rolling. The taping mechanism is all self-contained. You don't have to do anything now but hallucinate.
Yeah, okay.
I'll come back for you later. You'll forgive me if I don't stay around to watch. I just can't cope with freaky stuff.
As I mentioned, this was a film that we were recommended by my father. He had watched it when he was, younger himself, and he had watched it while tripping, and essentially me and Jason, here and there, will partake in some of the mushrooms, things like that, and he figured that, we had also been in this long binge of psychological horror / thriller films. It kind of kicked off with things like American Psycho or The Machinist, and it just kind of led on from there. And he had shown me a scene where this guy puts a videotape into another guy's stomach. It was very trippy, very strange.
I've got something I want to play for you.
Oh my God!
And immediately, of course, I was intrigued. And so from there, Jason and I kind of just decided, screw it, let's watch it. Seems like it's right up our alley. And so this also was right after we had just watched the worst film I've ever seen, called Old. So we had the worst film I've ever seen that literally caused me to have a panic attack and mental breakdown. And then we went into my favorite movie as of right now. If you want to hear more about the Old story, definitely go in the description below. My friend Tim posted a review of that movie, Old, and then me and Jason did a little discussion at the end of the story of my mental breakdown over that film. After watching Old, we go in, we watch Videodrome, we're tripping. Once I noticed that Cronenberg's name sounds familiar, I went ahead and I decided to go ahead and go look it up, and upon looking him up, I immediately noticed that he had directed The Fly. Now, I had seen The Fly when I was much younger. It left an impression on me for sure, and it was one of the first things that kind of made me think like, oh, the horror thing is interesting, but it also grossed me out and kind of scared me, so it kind of kept me away from horror a little bit to a certain extent. But I liked that film when I was younger, and it did leave such an impression on me that apparently the name stuck with me for all those years up until watching Videodrome. And so basically I told Jason, yeah, you know what, I have high hopes for this film, especially because I like The Fly, so we'll see what happens here. Videodrome is a film about a TV producer named Max, who essentially, tries to appeal to the lowest common denominator, I suppose you could say. He essentially appeals to porn addicts, or, you know, people who are looking for extreme intense BDSM, or even to go so far as snuff film. Essentially, he streams these intense sadomasochistic pornography films out to his small audience. Now, it's interesting because the way that this world of Videodrome is kind of shown is that there are a wide variety of small TV channels that are kind of like independently owned by a small number of people, so much so to the point that it almost feels like a really small stripped down version of YouTube in a way. Max has almost full control, if not full control, over what is shown on the TV broadcast, to the point where it's almost as if it's his own YouTube channel that he had, where he was able to push whatever he felt like out there. And then essentially at the beginning of the film, there is a question that is posited to Max. Also, Max is played by James Woods. It is posited to Max, could this be wrong of you to do? And what do you think this is doing to your viewers that are watching this stuff that you're putting out there?
I care enough, in fact, to give my viewers a harmless outlet for their fantasies and their frustrations. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a socially positive act.
And so from there, what happens is Max comes across the Videodrome stream, which was brought to him by his co-producer / the guy that just helps the TV station. He brought him this stream called Videodrome, and this stream was literally just snuff porn, essentially. And Max says, like, wow, it looks so real, like this will be perfect for my station, like, where's it coming from?
Malaysia?
At first, they think it's coming from some, Asian country. Then it turns out Max is told that Videodrome is coming from Pittsburgh in the United States. And so this piques Max's interest. And also Max refuses to believe that Videodrome could even possibly be real. As we go on, Max is introduced to this woman who is kind of this, I can't recall, I think she's a sex therapist or something like that, where she talks on a radio show or something along those lines. She meets him at the beginning of the film on the interview, where he's kind of asked that question about, what do you think this is doing to your viewers?
Well, I think we live in overstimulated times. We crave stimulation for its own sake. We gorge ourselves on it. We always want more, whether it's tactile, emotional, or sexual. And I think that's bad.
Then why did you wear that dress?
And essentially, they engage in a sexual relationship. This sexual relationship is shown to be that of kind of like a sadomasochistic nature, where like they take things such as like a needle he pokes through her ear at one point, and she kind of moans in pleasure. And she talks about how she is made for the Videodrome show. And he kind of says to her, no, nobody's made for that. Do not go on that show. Like, I don't know if it's real. I don't think it's real, but, do not go on that show. From there, everything gets extremely strange. And, even at this point in the film, when we see Max, having intercourse with this girl and puts through the needle through her ear, we see kind of like the camera shot pulls out, and you get this really interesting red room kind of shot where there's this perfectly red light kind of on them in a way that really sensualizes and kind of centers the BDSM act. To where you can kind of tell that there is this underlying idea for Cronenberg that when we talk about things like sexual penetration, especially when it comes to BDSM, the line becomes unclear on the difference between penetration of, say, the vaginal canal and penetration of the body in any other form, right? And so I think what Cronenberg is doing is he's kind of calling to this idea that everything you ingest in your body, including like putting a pin through your ear or whatever it might be, are all things that affect you in varying different ways. And I think one of the things that Cronenberg also is trying to get across here with this is that the things that you intake in media also will kind of become a piece of you and inform the way that you behave.
Too much class, bad for sex.
I say this because as the film again goes on, things start to devolve. Max is beginning to have visions that are varying in intensity, however, seem to be getting more and more intense as he goes on, of these either terrible things happening, like for example, he knows this woman who kind of gives him information that Videodrome is real, and he sees her dead in his bed next to him one night and is certain that he killed her. But then Max calls over his TV producer buddy who helps him at the TV station, comes over and says,
Well?
Max. I don't see anything.
and then we come across this character who says that he intends on helping Max and is going to try to use this new device, which I can only describe as looking kind of pyramid head-like, if you've ever seen the Silent Hill games, or I don't know if they have him in the film, but regardless, if you've seen that, it looks kind of like that to me. And it's this kind of weird futuristic but kind of not type looking headset thing that they put on him, and it's meant to record Max's inner thoughts, visions, and ideas. And basically what it captures is Max whipping a TV and so basically he's seeing these things that are becoming more and more violent, more and more distant from reality, more and more strange. At one point, he sees what appears to be like a vaginal canal in his stomach. That's only way I can describe it. That's what it appears as. He reaches in and pulls out a gun, and he is prompted to go kill people. Essentially what we find out is that Max had been poisoned by the Videodrome waves, the Videodrome television waves, and that Videodrome is a mind-controlling device created by the person who said that he was there to help Max in order to... this is where it gets a little cryptic. There isn't any direct information on why this Videodrome thing exists or what they're going to be using it for, other than this vague statement that America has gotten weak, and that they think that by putting out the Videodrome like waves to the American people, only the weakest of the weak and the lowest common denominators would watch the dribble that is coming out of that TV station, and then those people would be turned into either mind-controlled zombies or would be basically brought to insanity and would either kill themselves or kill other people and get themselves locked up. That way they can further either evolution, or they can try to make America stronger. I don't fucking know. It felt like some weird shit. So basically, this is all revealed to us in a slight dialogue from the guy who says that he was there to help Max. And beyond that, there is apparently deleted scenes that show that there was kind of this initial plan for the Videodrome waves to be a tool for the military or general government to use against like other countries or other things in general. So that was scrapped from the film itself, though, and that is kind of only stuff that I've read in kind of remnants on either Reddit posts or article pages of interviews, things like that. So really the reason Videodrome is there and the whole point of it is kind of left up to your interpretation and what you think Cronenberg is trying to say. However, by the end of the film, basically what we get is Max having become now a fugitive, having succumbed to the Videodrome waves and having killed people, having also taken out the people that were after him.
Get the Videodrome! Long live the new flesh!
He then ends up alone and kind of just by himself in this abandoned building, where he then has one final vision where he sees a TV. That TV kind of turns into this amalgamation of flesh and television, and a gun pulls out like a hand of just skin, no fingertips or anything like that, pulls out with a gun, and basically, this is all off the top of my memory, but basically he then goes on to see on the TV him killing him and sees that he is supposed to, according to, again, the girl that he earlier had sex with, to become one with the new flesh and to like move on and transcend from this plane of reality that he had once known.
Long live the new flesh.
Now, I left out a lot of detail in this because I don't want this this video to be extremely forever long. There are a lot of details, particularly that I missed within this kind of brief synopsis, where that make the film a bit more of a body horror film. So, for example, this film, the genre of this film is debated greatly. There are some people that call it like Lovecraftian in a way. There are people that call it just body horror. There are people that call it psychological horror. It's hotly debated on what genre this exactly is. However, the reason that this is called body horror and Cronenberg is known as one of the forefathers of the body horror genre is because things like the gun meld into the skin and hand of Max to where he can't put the gun down, and it seems like he has become one with the weapon, where he has essentially become the weapon. There are things like that that are shown, or like the earlier aforementioned thing where he puts the needle through the girl's ear. Things like that, which I suppose you can call those aspects body horror-esque, or were early remnants of what would become body horror. I think body horror you start to get way more into with things like Crash that Cronenberg did, which that's a whole thing in of itself that we can get into another video. The last thing that I'll say about like the film itself and what it entails, it feels less like a coherent storyline where you have like the general plot, the with the climax and the ending and all that stuff, the conflict, the resolution, etc. And it feels more like you are just experiencing what the main character Max is experiencing over this devolving into madness for him. Now that I've gotten out there kind of some thoughts on the film as well as what the film is about generally, now I can go ahead and give my final thoughts on what I think the film is trying to say, and what I would review, why I love this film so much, and my review of it. And I already mentioned earlier kind of what I think this film is trying to get at. I think this film is trying to, and I think it's one of the earlier examples of somebody recognizing the idea that when you intake certain forms of media, that media can then lead you to become somewhat desensitized and can lead you to other media that's a bit more extreme, and can lead down this rabbit hole to a point where maybe it's not the healthiest thing. The question is, do I think Cronenberg is also trying to say in general that we shouldn't be allowed to see these things, or that we shouldn't continue to push the boundaries or things like that? I don't think he's trying to say that. What I think he's trying to say is that, and I think he's trying to argue for this idea of pushing the bounds and exploring the fringe in a more safe way, in a way. That somebody should be aware of the media that they're ingesting in a way that they can, of course, separate it from reality, which Max begins to have a terribly hard time doing, to where, and he advocates for that general idea of the separation between reality and film, and it argues that people probably should, at least if they don't already have that distinction, learn that distinction and take courses of action themselves to push towards a place where they can distinguish reality from entertainment. And I think that Cronenberg in this film is kind of pushing towards some of the bad things that can occur if we don't remind people of that separation. And so I think that that's a fascinating idea in general. Again, also I think he's getting at the idea that even we think of sex as this particularly personal thing because of how, just society generally looks at it, but taking anything into your body, whether it be a piercing or whether it be eating something or whether it be sexual, are all things that are intimate in a way, and are all things that you should be careful of what you digest. And that also is true of media. Just be thoughtful of what you are engaging in, either online or when it comes to film, when it comes to music, anything like that. And so generally speaking, I think that's what Cronenberg is trying to get at, and I think that you can see that in a lot of Cronenberg's other works, like in Crimes of the Future, they are eating plastic, which Crimes of the Future is Cronenberg's most recent film. To me, that gave me this idea of like, well, if you're not too careful, we move from eating, regular food that's natural to eating versions of food that aren't necessarily natural, but, they taste similar, to the point where you're not eating any form of natural sustenance at all, and you're so far away from nature that you're to something such as plastic. Now, that's one interpretation. There's a lot of interpretations that you could give of the plastic thing, but I think that this whole idea of understanding what you're intaking and how everything that you intake in any way, whether it be visually, audibly, but eating it, sexually, whatever it might be, are all things that can affect you in meaningful ways. Overall, that's my thought process on the breakdown of this film. I love this film so much because it is like it's from 1983, and it touches on what the world has become today in a meaningful way, I think.
Soon all of us will have special names.
And I think that Cronenberg really called forth things that became true. The desensitization through media has definitely been a thing, and I think to an extent has been an issue that we have yet to resolve. I don't think it's a thing where people are going out and killing people because of certain media, but I do think things such as sexuality or things like that have definitely gotten a lot more extreme because people are just becoming more and more desensitized to certain things. And I'm not saying, I'm not an advocate against porn or anything like that, but I think people can just let certain things get away from them. And, when you are somebody who's into BDSM, if you move from one form of BDSM to, a more extreme form and more extreme and more extreme, I think that's something you should just be mindful of if you are engaging in that, right? Again, talked about all these topics that would become real, or the idea of having all these smaller kind of channels that are putting out content that is informing different portions of the population in meaningfully different ways, is exactly what the internet has done. So I think that it's just really interesting to see kind of the crossovers between reality and what Cronenberg thought reality may be when it came to Videodrome. It's shot very well. The practical effects are amazing. I just love it so much. Like, for example, there's a part where he picks up a videotape and it starts like kind of moving and all that. And my buddy Tim, who, you know, is in the film industry and has gone to film school, he kind of mentioned how like they can use like kind of like rubber kind of props and like kind of push them up or put little mechanisms in them to make that kind of effect, or various other things. So I think like on a directorial level, on a script level, on a like analytical level, on pretty much every level, I absolutely love Videodrome. It's a 10 out of 10 film from me. Most of the Cronenberg films that I've seen, I absolutely adore. He is absolutely by far my favorite director at this point. Definitely let me know what you guys thought of this movie down in the comments, and or what you think of my analysis / review. And then without further ado, let's go ahead and toss it on over to Jason.
Okay, so let me give you my analysis of this film. First of all, the rating. I would give this film a 9.5 to a near perfect 10. It is one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. Just the natural use of robotics and practical effects and makeup and everything, it stands out amongst so many films today, which you have a heavy use of CGI, and a lot of films with horrible CGI, and it's becoming more blatant than ever as, you know, you get 4K and now 8K. The resolution, as the resolution increases, CGI is going to be more expensive, and it's going to look even worse overall than even some of the 90s movies. But the practical effects in this film are incredible. There's a scene where Max, essentially, who is played by James Woods, who's the main character, and he's basically hears Nikki talking to him through the television, and the television starts to pulsate with use of practical effects, and essentially he's making out with the TV.
Nikki, don't keep me waiting, please. Please.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And what this film, not only what David Cronenberg, as a writer, director, predicted and kind of saw as the inevitable progression of television entertainment in society, he was so spot on. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And one of the main things in this movie is that Videodrome is supposed to it's like this BDSM, like insane, grotesque, like show that essentially Max is shown, and then he's like, hey, we need to push this because it's going to be popular, it's going to equal ratings, which, I mean, yeah, that type of stuff equals ratings in normal society today, and it has to get more insane, more darker, and more twisted just to keep the ratings going and keep people interested, it seems like. And overall, this film represents that very well. The movie kind of betrays, and David Cronenberg kind of writes that the inevitable takeover of television in terms of that's what becomes society. like society, reality television in general. That's basically what this is talking about. That society is television. Yeah, you look at YouTube. I'm talking to you right now. YouTube is reality television. Reality television is and television. The lines have been blurred between what is real and what is not, and that is why it's so difficult for a lot of people, and maybe it's just me because I have autism, but I imagine a lot of people have a difficult time trying to decipher the difference between when somebody is being a character, when they're doing like something like YouTube or on Twitter or Instagram or any social media or reality television, when somebody is being a character, when something is scripted, and when something is actually real. And those lines have been blurred, and this movie predicted that, and that is why it's such an incredible film, and I absolutely love it. James Woods was phenomenal in this movie. The only thing I've ever seen James Woods in, Family Guy is probably the only thing I've really seen James Woods in. Yeah, I mean, and which is a shame because now I realize James Woods is actually one hell of an actor and is one of my favorite films of all time. You need to watch this movie. I can't I can't say that enough. This is one of my favorite films of all time. This is easily top 5, top 3. Just go out and watch it. If you're going to see any David Cronenberg film, and there's a lot of incredible David Cronenberg films, you need to watch this one. This is one of those films that it should be watched by anybody who watches movies, who watches any type of, who wants to know what are the best movies of all time. If you want to know what one of the best movies of all time, this is it.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tagging along during this video. If you have any suggestions for any other videos here on the channel, either of any other series or of movies for us to review or watch, etc., or analyze anything, just let us know in the comments down below. Me and Jason took a little bit of a different, angle at this overall, it seems, but I think that we both did a good job putting forward why we love this film, and this film does have a lot of stuff that is deeply up to interpretation. So if you guys have different interpretations or different ideas of what happened in the film or anything like that, definitely let us know down in the comments below on that as well. Besides that, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That will pop up during the outro, and you can also follow me on any of my other socials down in the description below, or like I mentioned, if you want to hear that story about having a mental breakdown for that because of that movie Old, definitely check in the description below for my friend Tim's video. Outside of that, thank you guys so much for, of course, all the love that you guys always give these videos, and I guess I will see you all in the next one. I stay out of my head to the depths of the universe.